Make English a priority and set time aside to study every day. Any time you spend on your English should be seen as an investment into your future fluency. Many small steps will help you travel a long distance over time. Having a clear idea of exactly why you need English and what you will gain as a result of being fluent is important in order to set it as a priority in your busy life. The amount of time you choose to invest in your English is up to you. But this should be a regular commitment, and it will directly affect the speed at which you gain fluency. Make a conscious effort to inject more English into your typical day. Read one news article in the morning before breakfast, listen to an English audiobook or radio on the way to work, do a 10-word vocabulary test during your lunch break. If possible, have a 5-minute phone chat with a foreign friend. Study in the evenings, watch an English TV show or YouTube channel. Anything you can do to add English into your daily routine. Use your native language less. If you spend 99% of your time speaking your mother tongue and only 1% is left for English, improving your fluency is always going to be an uphill struggle. Are there situations in which you could use English instead of your native language? This technique is called replacement, and examples might include changing the language on your mobile phone to English, watching TV in English 50% of the time, or choosing to read a book in English instead of your native language. Stop thinking of English as just a textbook subject. Try to view English more as a way of life and less as a school subject. Any contact with the language will help you speak English more fluently over time. So why limit yourself to just traditional classrooms and textbooks? Taking a broader perspective is likely to make the learning process far more interesting. Native English speakers have regular contact with the language in a wide range of contexts, and so should you. Find some study buddies. Find friends or colleagues who are also interested in learning English. Ask them to help you practice, to test your vocabulary, and to set up study times. By supporting and motivating each other, you will improve at a much faster rate. There is an old African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Don't look for a quick fix. There isn't one. We are living in a world where advertising teaches us to believe everything can be gained quickly and easily with a minimum amount of effort. In reality, the best things in life are often gained by working consistently to achieve a goal over time. This is certainly the case when learning how to speak English fluently. If you go online, you'll find lots of books and websites with catchphrases like "How to learn English fast," "Speak great English in just 3 weeks," or "The easy way to learn English." However, achieving fluent English is never easy or as fast, as learners who fail to acquire good English are usually those who look for a quick fix solution or don't have enough personal investment in their studies in terms of time, effort and money. If you really want to know how to speak English fluently, avoid the gimmicks. Take responsibility for your own progress. Many learners set unrealistic targets for themselves, fail to follow their own study timetable, and are then disappointed by the end result. Do not let yourself fall into this trap. Start by setting a series of small and achievable goals in a short term. For example, in the next 3 months, write down your current commitments and decide how much time each week you will dedicate to your English. Then compare your list of study goals with your availability and create a realistic plan. Remember that fluency in English is a percentages game. Accept that you may never become a native English speaker, but that is not the goal. Work towards improving your respective skills step by step over time. It is unlikely that you will ever gain 100% native English accent, but perhaps 90% would be enough. Keep your goals clear in your mind. For example, with the accent, the main thing is to be understood by everyone, and that means to have a clear standard pronunciation with minimal confusion between similar sounds. This principle also applies to your other English skills. Visualize your progress to appreciate what you have achieved so far. Motivation often comes when seeing the results of your efforts. Testing your skills from time to time can help you visualize your progress so you feel more positive about your English. For example, try setting yourself a 20-word or phrase vocabulary test at the end of each week. A larger vocabulary makes understanding the language a lot easier and also helps you speak English more fluently. Make English relevant and interesting to you. One of the biggest problems with traditional English classroom teaching, as you will have experienced at school or university, is that there tends to be a one-size-fits-all approach. Classes are taught in groups, confident students dominate while others receive little attention, and courses tend to be generic or textbook based. This style of teaching has the potential to kill off any interest in the language and damage your motivation to study. If you want to know how to speak English fluently, the starting point should be you. Connect your existing hobbies and interests with English. English is never boring. If you study with material that is relevant and interesting to you, take a piece of paper and write down a list of hobbies and interests that motivate and stimulate you in your daily life. Now, think of ways that you can connect each of these with English. For example, if you love tennis and read books about the sport in your native language each week, stop doing this and start reading in English. In many cases, you will find that you have faster access to the latest news and information as you do not need to wait for the translations to appear in your mother tongue. Motivation is vital when studying a language. Many learners fail to develop a love for English at school because they find the lessons and textbooks boring. Don't make this mistake again. Try using a wide variety of different materials and see what works best for you. To gain more fluent English, you need to speak the language regularly with other people. This could be with native or non-native friends, relatives, members of a local English conversation club, other students at a group class, or an online English tutor. When you are engaged and interested, you gain fluency in English faster. Try making a list of topics you find intellectually and emotionally stimulating. Then search on Google to find relevant articles, videos, and other study materials for discussion and further study. Join English internet forums that are related to your work or interests. Even if you live outside a majority English speaking country, you can still gain fantastic access to native English opportunities via the internet. If you enjoy communicating with others online, you may wish to join internet forums where like-minded people correspond on subjects that they are interested in. You can then learn from forum members by noting down commonly used expressions and constructions that you can use later when speaking about these topics. Another advantage of using internet forums such as Reddit is that participants tend to use current jargon and phrases. Build your other English skills to help with your spoken fluency. Fluent spoken English comes from having a broad vocabulary, good listening comprehension skills, and a solid understanding of grammar. Therefore, it is a mistake to focus 100% on just speaking. Imagine you are building a house. You will need many different materials: bricks, timber, cement, slates for the roof, and so on. This is also the case when you are building fluency in English. You need solid foundations on which to build, and these are represented by the other main skills in the language. Always keep working to improve your vocabulary. Having a large vocabulary gives you greater flexibility and power of expression in English. Therefore, it is important that you continually work to improve your vocabulary through conscious study and passive exposure to the language. One of the biggest problems learners face when speaking English is that they lack the words to express what they wish to say or cannot construct sentences quickly enough to hold a fluent conversation. Working on your vocabulary can help with this immensely. However, you must be selective with the words and phrases you choose to learn if you want to remember them. Only learn words and expressions that you are actually going to use regularly. Keep a personal dictionary or vocabulary notebook for new words and phrases. Remember that listening is only half the conversation. If you want to know how to speak English fluently, then first learn how to be a good listener. Fluency is often gained by listening and then copying the language used by others. English has a wide variety of accents and regional forms, so it is vital that you work on your listening comprehension skills if you wish to understand native speech. To do this, try the following. Watch a current English TV series. Films with subtitles, YouTube channels. If you enjoy music, pick some of your favorite tracks, print out the lyrics, translate the meaning into your language, and perhaps even sing along. You could also try listening to audiobooks and transcribing them onto paper. Then compare the original printed version with your transcript to see where you went wrong. Note down any new words or phrases you find useful. Reading more can help you build your understanding of the language in terms of word order, grammatical constructions, idioms, and other set phrases used by native speakers. If you read lots of articles about the same topic or books by the same author, you will find that words and phrases repeat themselves time after time. The more you read similar texts, the easier it will become to understand them as you familiarize yourself with the vocabulary used. Avoid reading material that is too old and outdated. Stick to text written in the last 30 years, as these are more representative of the language used by native speakers today. Analyze native English conversations and dialogues for more natural speech. If you want to speak English more naturally, you need to examine how natives use the language in their everyday conversations. Try taking sample dialogues from textbooks or transcribing them from TV programs like soap operas or sitcoms that reflect common usage. You'll notice that native speakers have a tendency to use more phrasal verbs, contractions, and simplified tense forms, especially in American English. This language is likely to differ from that found in traditional textbooks and will give you some valuable insights into how modern English is spoken today. You may wish to try role-playing with a conversation partner to practice the common exchange and situational English you are learning. You will find that many words and phrases are often repeated during everyday conversations in English, so it's worth identifying these and knowing them well. Avoid focusing too much on grammar. One of the most common problems among learners of English as a foreign language is that they have been taught in a traditional classroom environment by non-native teachers who are focused more on grammar than speaking. This is entirely understandable because school programs often emphasize structure over interaction. Non-native teachers may lack confidence in their own spoken fluency. However, the fact is that students cannot learn how to speak English fluently unless they are given regular opportunities to practice their speaking skills. This is a failing within our national education systems. But you can choose to make speaking a priority in your own studies and learn grammar more in context. Grammar is not only learned through textbooks. Most learners would agree that studying grammar is essential, but boring. However, this does not always have to be the case. You may be surprised to hear that English children are seldom taught grammar formally at school, and that they learn mostly through trial and error. By writing stories and other text and having your teacher correct them, they also acquire an understanding of grammar through constant contact with the language and interaction with others. This proves that textbooks are not the only way to learn grammar. You can also acquire it by listening to native English on a regular basis and copying correct constructions and utterances. When working more on grammar through speaking, it is an advantage to have a native English teacher who can correct your mistakes. Remember that natives often break the rules. If you want to know how to speak English fluently, you cannot afford to ignore the importance of non-standard forms, regional accents, and dialects. According to the latest statistics, only around 2% of Brits speak RP, the Queen's English. This posh form of English is on the decline and no longer seen as the desirable accent. Many BBC news readers now only use standard English, but with soft regional accent features: Welsh, Scottish, Northern and Southern English. If you watch television or listen to music, you will hear a wide variety of accents. While you may not wish to use these regional forms yourself, it is important that you make the effort to understand them, because the majority of native English speakers have at least some non-standard features. Use modern English content produced by native speakers. In order to speak fluent English, you need a correct model to follow, and this should be representative of the modern language as it is spoken today. If you live outside a majority English speaking country, the internet still provides fantastic access to learning opportunities. News websites, forums, social networks, online tutors, study websites, and so on. There is no excuse for using outdated textbooks or focusing on material that doesn't reflect how natives speak the language today. However, there is still a place for literature and older work, as long as you are able to distinguish between current versus outdated forms and make appropriate choices when speaking. Choices, choices, choices. Most English second language learners struggle at times to select the correct words and phrases to match the context in which they are speaking. This is a difficult skill to acquire, and mistakes often arise because the student is using outdated textbooks and other material that doesn't reflect modern usage. Another criticism often directed at non-natives is that they sound overly formal when speaking English. Again, this is due to inappropriate word selection. For example, non-natives might favor formal terms like postpone or collect, when natives prefer phrasal verbs like put off or pick up in everyday conversation. It is often best to avoid using textbooks or other resources written by non-native speakers, because they are more likely to contain errors and old-fashioned language. English is constantly evolving. To be a fluent English speaker, you must be prepared to adapt to the changing nature of the language and learn continuously. Native speakers never stop learning English, as the language is constantly evolving under a variety of influences: mass media, trends, advertising, politics, foreign language contact, and so on. If you want to keep your finger on the pulse, you need to expose yourself to current native English content on a regular basis. Live interaction with native speakers is a big advantage too. Television is a window into modern English. Watching reality shows, TV series, and soap operas can give you valuable insights into the type of English being used today in majority English-speaking countries. It is not all pretty, polite, and in line with standard pronunciation and grammar, but it is a genuine illustration of modern usage and provides learners with valuable access to raw English as it is spoken today by Brits and Americans. Try watching some British TV programs on a website like viewabroad.com or a YouTube channel like this and note down new phrases, slang, and colloquial expressions to use later. Use it or lose it. To speak English well, you need to maintain a good active vocabulary. Most learners struggle to achieve this due to a lack of practice, which also means a lack of repetition. We might say that the human brain is like a computer and that active vocabulary is saved in a temporary files folder. If information is not used within a given period of time, it is simply deleted or forgotten. Therefore, if you want to speak English fluently, you need to ensure that A, you are learning vocabulary and grammar that you are actually going to use in practice, and B, you are getting regular contact with the language. Repetition equals retention. Repetition has been proven to help us remember information for a longer period of time. In the context of English, the main focus should be on the repetition of vocabulary and grammar. It is a good idea to keep a record of all the vocabulary tests and regularly look back through your notebook to ensure that this information does not go in one ear and out the other. Perhaps ask an English-speaking friend to help test your skills from time to time. This is a good way of getting to know a certain set of vocabulary well through constant exposure to the same words, phrases, and constructions. For example, after you have read 25 news articles about tennis, you will be familiar with all the common set phrases associated with the sport. The same goes for any topic. Try some apps for learning English. Some of the best apps focus on vocabulary and allow you to create your own lists by topic to practice anytime, anywhere. Download several apps and see which one works best for you. Although great progress has been made over the last decade with artificial intelligence, computers still cannot understand and reproduce speech in the same way humans do. This means that apps focused on English speaking and correction are often of limited use. You need regular human interaction with native and non-native speakers. Improve your spoken fluency by copying a native English model. In order to speak English well, you need a correct native model to follow. In the same way that children acquire language by imitating their parents and others around them, you can learn English through regular exposure to native English content, text, audio, video, and interaction with a tutor or friends. There can be significant differences between British and American English in terms of vocabulary, pronunciation, and even grammar. Confusion often arises when students mix different types of English together when speaking and writing the language. To avoid this, consider which national variety of English you prefer, or which suits your needs best, and make this the starting point for selecting a suitable model. Find a native model or tutor to guide your learning. Having your own native English tutor can be a great way of ensuring regular speaking practice and error correction. This tutor can act as your native model and point of reference, as well as boosting your motivation and interest in the language. You could also choose a model like a BBC newsreader, a YouTube star, or a famous celebrity if you have access to enough video and audio material. This person should be a native speaker with standard English, but also someone you like and perhaps admire. Try the shadowing method. Start by finding a short piece of audio or a video clip by a native English speaker. This could be a 30 to 60 second passage from an audiobook or a very short comedy sketch from YouTube. Listen and watch this several times until you are familiar with it and clear on its meaning. Pay attention to how the speaker uses intonation, emphasis, and pauses. Perhaps make some notes on paper and transcribe the passage so you can have a visual text to work from too. Now, try to shadow the speaker by repeating the passage in exactly the same manner and with the same pronunciation. You may like to record yourself doing this so you can then compare your version against the original to see where you can improve further at the next attempt. Keep working towards native fluency. Unless you have spent the formative part of your childhood living in a majority English speaking country, it is unlikely that you will ever become 100% native speaker. Set realistic study goals for yourself and work towards these over time. Every learner is capable of achieving fluent English, and some even reach near native proficiency. If you are worried about your pronunciation at an advanced level, consider hiring a speech therapist who specializes in accent reduction. Bear in mind that the majority of native English tutors will not have the specialist skills required to provide more than general pronunciation training and error correction. Network with other English speakers. You must ensure regular speech practice if you want to speak English fluently. Live interaction with native and non-native speakers help improve your listening skills and gives you an opportunity to bring your theoretical knowledge to life. This type of communication may be less formal and organized than English lessons, and error correction may be limited. But having an English social network can be hugely beneficial for improving your confidence when speaking. Join an English conversation club. English is the most popular foreign language studied in the world today. This is good news for learners because it means that there are English conversation clubs and societies in almost every town and city. Try looking online via Google or Facebook for information on English groups near you. These will often be free, but some may charge a small membership fee. The idea of these clubs is to arrange weekly or monthly get-togethers where native and non-native speakers of English can socialize in an informal setting. If native English speakers are in short supply in your town, you can still gain valuable experience by communicating in English with non-native study buddies. Ideally, these will be other learners of your level or higher. Just be aware that non-natives often make mistakes in English, so try to avoid taking these on board. Use the internet to connect with English speakers. Do you have a Facebook account or enjoy online gaming? Social networks are full of English study groups, and you can join for free to practice your language skills with other learners from around the world. If you like online gaming, buy a microphone so that you can chat with other participants in English while you are playing. You may find you share a lot in common with other gamers worldwide. On Facebook, there is a group called The Chat Box that have regular Zoom meetings to chat and practice English. Travel and communicate with others abroad. One of the best reasons for improving your fluency in English is that it is currently the main international lingua franca or common language. Traveling abroad can be an interesting and challenging way of enhancing your English speaking skills. Being abroad is a great way to practice your English. But if you are traveling with friends or relatives who speak your language, you may not make full use of this opportunity. Leave your native language in your suitcase and make a conscious effort to use English instead. You may want to consider some solo travel, as this will force you to use English 24/7. You will always be tempted to use your mother tongue if given the choice, because this is easier and feels more natural. It is your dominant instinct. However, Sometimes you must distance yourself from your native language in order to become more fluent in English. Consider working abroad. While this option may not be open to everyone, working overseas does offer several key advantages when it comes to improving your fluency in English. Full immersion within an English-speaking workplace and wider social setting leads to faster progress and a better understanding of the language. If you are able to find work within your professional sphere abroad, then this is the ideal way of getting ahead, both with your English and your career. If you are currently a university student, you may want to consider a program like Work and Travel, which offers the chance to earn a basic salary in a service industry job, enjoy a little tourism, and improve your English in the USA. Think of an overseas study program. Studying abroad can be a great way of becoming more fluent in English while learning valuable skills for your professional career. Many of the world's best universities are based in the UK or America, and there are a wide variety of degree courses to choose from. You can find out more about higher education opportunities in the UK on the British Council website. If university isn't right for you, then there are still plenty of other courses overseas to suit every budget and availability. These might be work-related or based around your personal interests. For example, if you like yoga, perhaps consider a residential course in an English-speaking country like Malta. If you work in marketing, why not attend a short course in London with a top agency? Invite English speakers to visit you. If you cannot find the time to visit an English-speaking country, why not invite a native speaker to visit you? Playing host, tour guide, and translator to a visiting guest is one of the best ways to learn English by socializing and sharing information and experiences with another person. Independent travel is gaining popularity, and the internet provides access to everything from individual homestays to adventure tourism with a local guide. If you do not have foreign friends, now is the time to make some. Websites like Airbnb and Couchsurfing are extremely popular among open-minded Brits and Americans who like to travel and see the real life of a country. If you have a spare room and would like to host foreign tourists visiting your city, try registering on these sites. This could provide you some good English practice as well as a little extra cash. Find a friendly foreigner. Overseas friends can be made through work, study, or travel. However, if your address book is looking a bit empty when you get to the E for English, you may want to consider looking online. Pen pal websites are not as popular as they used to be, but a search like Pen Pals UK via Google might still prove fruitful. Social networks are a good place to find travel and hobby pages. For example, check out this unusual Facebook group for travelers looking for others to accompany them on snorkeling trips around the world. You could also try looking up Facebook groups for foreigners interested in your country and language. These might be pages for expats or just for some interested in travel and culture. If you are outgoing and helpful, it should not be too difficult to find friends and extend an invitation to meet up sometime. Take English lessons with a native speaker. Although many skills in English can be improved through self-study, spoken fluency is seldom achieved in isolation due to the need for regular interaction and error correction. Having a native English tutor can help provide a focal point for your day-to-day studies. This should be a qualified teacher with appropriate experience who can provide guidance and practical training a couple of times a week. There are several options when considering a face-to-face tutor. You can study in a group class at a private language school or take one-on-one lessons at home or at a teacher's place. It may be best to find a tutor closer to home, as this will make attending classes easier. Individual training is also preferable in most cases, as it saves time and allows you to focus 100% on exactly what you need rather than what other students in a group may require. Try online lessons with a native teacher. In the last decade, e-learning has become a popular alternative to traditional classroom teaching, as it offers greater flexibility and access to tutors. It is now possible to have lessons with a native English teacher via Zoom from any location with a good internet connection. This method of learning English gives students more options while saving them time and money. Arrange a language exchange. Search for English-speaking expats living in your city. This can be done via Google or Facebook, as well as through the international department of your local university. Find a native English speaker who is interested in learning your mother tongue and offer them a language exchange. Then meet at a cafe each week to practice for 30 to 60 minutes in each language. Never ignore the elephant in the room. Linguists and teachers are divided on the issue of using the learner's native language in the classroom. However, one thing is for sure. You cannot ignore the elephant in the room. Your mother tongue is equivalent to an instinct, and the vast majority of mistakes you make when using English will come about through your logical transfer or interference. In effect, you are trying to navigate an English landscape using a map of your own native language. For example, Russian has no articles, a, and, the. So native speakers of this language may always struggle to use these words correctly in English. Native French speakers often find it hard to pronounce the English H, so they are likely to pronounce the word hen as n. If you want to speak fluent English, you should try to correct your existing mistakes by understanding where they originate. Pay close attention to our differences. How does your native language differ from English in terms of structure and usage? If you improve your understanding of these differences, you can begin to eliminate some of the errors coming into your English as a result of your mother tongue or language instinct. For instance, if you know that the standard word order in your language is enough big, but the correct order in English is big enough, then you can make an extra effort not to allow this mistake to occur in the future. This requires a conscious intervention on your part until you stop making the given error, which is being automatically transferred from your mother tongue. Choose to use English whenever possible. You will face many situations in which you have a choice of either using English or your native language. If you choose to let your mother tongue dominate, your fluency in English will suffer as a result. Step outside your comfort zone and use your English whenever you have the opportunity. Even if you do not speak perfect English, everyone will appreciate your effort and you will improve with time. Use translation to your advantage. Some teachers discourage their students from translating to and from their native language. This can be because the tutor feels uncomfortable with a language they do not understand, or it can be because they believe students should understand English through English. This approach fails to recognize the benefits of limited mother tongue usage when learning another language. Quick translation to and from the student's native language can save a lot of time, and using a detailed bilingual dictionary often helps build a better understanding of what words mean in each language and how they may overlap or differ. Learning a new language means learning a new culture. Any linguist will tell you that language and culture are closely connected. You cannot learn one without also learning something about the other. By culture, we mean mentality, perspective, norms, and so on. Our native language is full of colorful idioms, similes, and expressions that reflect our values, beliefs, and perception of the world around us. When learning English, you will find that our take on things is similar to yours in places, but wildly different in others. Be open to the fact that we do not all see the world in the same way, and that there is no right or wrong. By embracing our cultural idiosyncrasies, you can truly appreciate the beautiful, weird and wonderful faces of our languages. As an illustration, let's compare English and Russian. A Brit would say the eye of the needle, where a Russian would say ear. A Brit would say, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse, where a Russian would say elephant. And a Brit would say, drink like a fish, where a Russian would say, be quiet as a fish. What do you say? First we understand, and then we speak. As young children, we develop a good understanding of our parents' language before we are actually able to speak or produce grammatical sentences ourselves. This is the same for adult learners of English as a foreign language. Your understanding will always be ahead of your own practical ability to speak and use the language. Understanding is the basis for the spoken fluency that follows. It is natural to make mistakes, but learn from them. The only way to become fluent in a language is through trial and error. Therefore, making mistakes is both natural and necessary. Everyone will be expecting you to make mistakes, so there is no need to be overly worried about this. The main thing is that you learn from these mistakes in order to improve next time. If you lack confidence when speaking, think of it this way. Most Brits and Americans do not speak any foreign languages fluently because they expect everyone else to use English. You are already ahead of them, and they should thank you for doing your best to learn their language. Thank you. Be your own best critic. Always be 100% honest with yourself about your progress in English. It is easy to blame your past classroom experiences or tutors, family commitments, or busy working life for your current lack of fluency. However, making excuses will not help you to improve. You must take control and responsibility for your own progress. No one can learn English for you. Be your own best critic, but be constructive with your criticism. Keep a detailed record of your own mistakes over a prolonged period of time. You can then see how frequently these occur. Look up the correct forms and work on eliminating these errors. You may wish to study with a native English teacher while compiling your list of typical mistakes, as this can be difficult to do alone. Reward yourself for improved fluency. Whenever you reach a milestone, achieve a personal goal, or just have a good day with your spoken English, give yourself a pat on the back by rewarding this effort with a treat. That could be a meal at your favorite restaurant, a trip to the cinema, or a new pair of shoes. This reinforces the positive progress you are making. You deserve it. English is not the final destination. Think of English as a tool that you can use to get something you want or need in life. Whether your goals are career-orientated, study-based, or just social, fluent English in itself is not the final destination. Instead, it is the bridge that will help you cross the river and reach the other side. Your task is to build the bridge brick by brick and day by day. Let's start building.